to music through, you know, listen to CDs and things like that, because I won't get enough of the subtlety. So I'll get the basic tempo, the basic dynamics, the basic idea of the piece, but I won't get that subtlety. And it's a subtlety that's everything, that it really is, you know, it's a salt and pepper or something really. And so it's the idea also of paying attention. And, you know, when you are listening, you have to pay attention, you have to focus, and therefore you've got to slow the body down. So you've got to allow that body to open up and see the body as like a huge ear, almost, you know, and let that vibrate. If we're feeling too much through only one part of the body, you know, these two flats, for example, it's overload. If you imagine sometimes being on an aeroplane, there's always this constant vibration of the engine, constant noise of this engine going through, you know, our bodies. What do? We try to cancel that out by feeding our bodies with more sound. You know, we pop on our headphones and we're listening to whatever is on the, you know, on the entertainment thing. And so it's sound, we're trying to cancel that out with more sound and cancel that out with more sound and so on and so forth. And it's a complete overload. And as a musician, you're trying to focus on how to link one sound to another sound to another sound. And in order to do that, you've got to really see and feel and smell and taste that sound in order to link it to another one. It's a wee bit like a conversation. You know, if I happen to answer your question, I was looking around and, you know, trying to speak to you and communicate to you like this, and, you know, where the body language was not focusing on you, your interpretation and therefore your listening would be completely different to perhaps the fact that, well, at least we're looking at each other. You know what I mean? Completely different. And a lot of the corporate companies that I happen to go into, whereby they want some inspiration and things like that, the crux of, and the message really that they constantly come out with is to do with listening. So whether you're talking to a company that's about health and safety, or whether it's to the National Health Service in the UK, or whether it's, you know, to a group of bankers or whatever it is, it's all about listening. And listening can often be about body posture as well. It really can. It really can. It's all about communication. And I can't tell you how important that really is to stress. And so it goes beyond just what's coming through here, really. Hard to explain.
You mentioned you have played in your own gamelan.
Yeah.
What kind of other non-Western percussive traditions do you like, or see maybe more in your playing, or that inspire you?
It all inspires me, really, actually. You know, I mean, if you see Middle Eastern playing, if you see Indian playing, if you see, you know, a group of people, pan players, if you see Latin American players, I mean, it's all hugely inspiring. So you just get sucked into that. But I realise that, you know, you can't cover all of that at all. You just can't. And that's the way it is. And so there's a kind of appreciation and acceptance of what there is out there, that ultimately, in my own playing, you know, I'm never going to be a Zakir Hussain on tabla, you know. So, that's what you expect, and that use what you can in your own way, you know, to what you do, really.
Well, then, how do you see these different techniques, tabla playing, djembe playing, how do you think they can be integrated into the contemporary solo percussion compositional process?
Well,
and how are people doing that, the people that you commission from?
I think that a lot of these techniques are interesting when they're used on completely different instruments.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine a marimba bar using some of the tabla techniques, that's interesting. Or playing it on a snare drum or something, that's interesting. And I remember years ago going to India, and of course a lot of their percussion playing is the hand on the actual surface, whether it's a clay pot or a tabla or whatever it is. And very rarely do they actually use sticks, you know. And I happened to bring along an Irish boron, and of course the stick that they use is called a tipper. And, you know, here you're having great Indian players, I mean, just the most extraordinary players, and you give them this boron with a stick, and it was like a 5-year-old, you know. But fascinating, because it was a different group of muscles in their hands that had to be used, completely different sense of touch, different action, everything. So, you know, no matter where you come from in the world, we can all learn from each other. But I find it fascinating taking these techniques and using them on instruments that are more familiar to me, and trying to find sounds that you may not have experienced from anywhere before.
Question up here. Hi. Sorry. Hey. Sorry for the weird angle. You said in your hearing essay that music represents life, and you kind of elaborated on that by saying that each musical piece that you play is kind of like an artist's canvas for expression in a way. I was hoping you could kind of elaborate on that point, because I'm someone who's really passionate about music as well. I've been playing the piano for quite some time, and I have had similar thoughts. And when I read that, I was like, whoa, that's really cool. So I was hoping you could elaborate on your whole analogy.
Oh, heavens. Well, really how I see everything is that, you know, you can have instruments in front of you, you can be in a wonderful hall, environment, or chapel, and nothing is going to happen until that human body comes in contact with the instrument. And, you know, you can have the most expensive instrument there, the most incredible, you know, instrument, but nothing is going to happen to that. Or you can have the most inexpensive flower pots. Nothing is going to happen unless that human body comes in contact with that surface. And really, the instrument is the hall, the instrument is you. You know, tomorrow night it will be me. And you just have an opportunity to embrace this environment, you know, as a clean sheet, as it were, where you're going to paint sound. It's as simple as that. So it means that you're not going to play the piece in exactly the same way as you did in your practice room or whatever. You're not even going to use the same sticks or mallets or tools. You're not going to use the same touch, because the room will determine what is actually going to happen. You know, you're going to have other types of emotional baggage that is going to be different from maybe yesterday. And all of this you have to respect, go with, and create, really. So I like the idea that music is so fluid, that you can't just take it away and say, right, that's it, that's the definitive interpretation or something. You know, it's just not going to happen. So, and I just haven't explained that well at all.
No, that was actually really good. No, thank you. No, thank you.
I think we may have time for maybe just one more question.
Yes, sorry, this is sort of a little less intellectual, but you also mentioned in your hearing essay that you sort of hear through touch and vibration. I was just wondering, like, if you turned up the speakers all the way and put your hand on it, could you differentiate like different notes and stuff?
Different pitches, no. I used to, when I was developing this type of idea, I mean, like my percussion teacher used to have me stand in a room where there were timpani, and my hands were on the wall, and he would tune the timpani to notes that were far apart, the intervals were far apart, and he would ask me, where are you feeling those? And I'd say, well, from here to there or somewhere. And then gradually he would lessen that interval, the hands still on the wall, and it was from there to there, or there to there, and it was getting narrower and narrower. So the body was becoming more refined. And then what I did was that I would take speakers at home, they were just old cheap things, take the cover off the speakers, and inside you have the cone, and I'd place them between my knees, my upper body against my tummy, my chest, and just the bottom of my neck here, my breast, and really just hugged the speaker. And it allowed me not so much to get the actual pictures, but it allowed me to get texture. And texture was important to me. And then I went to the company